Imagine a global chessboard where every move could reshape the fate of nations. At the center of this game stands U.S. President Donald Trump, with his signature boldness, announcing a move that has sent shockwaves worldwide. The United States will impose 100% secondary tariffs on countries trading with Russia if Moscow fails to reach a peace agreement with Ukraine within the next 50 days. At first glance, this seems contradictory. Why punish trade partners when peace is within reach? As an economic strategist with 30 years of experience, I see this as more than a threat. It's a masterful geopolitical maneuver, meticulously calculated by Trump to shape the post-conflict global order, ensure accountability, and inspire hope for a future where justice and resilience prevail. This is a story of how Trump wields economic leverage to pressure Russia, support Ukraine, and solidify America's leadership. Let's unpack his strategy and its implications for Russia, Ukraine, the U.S., and the global community. The Ukraine-Russia conflict, ongoing since 2022, has disrupted global alliances, supply chains, and energy markets. As of July 20, 2025, the prospect of a peace agreement within 50 days, potentially brokered by international mediators, marks a critical turning point. However, Trump, in a White House press conference alongside NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, declared unequivocally, if Russia fails to secure a peace deal with Ukraine within this timeframe, the U.S. will impose 100% secondary tariffs on nations continuing trade with Moscow. This bold move reflects Trump's calculated strategy to ensure that peace is not just a signed document, but a new order under U.S. and allied control. With his characteristic bluntness, Trump expressed frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin. I'm very, very unhappy with Russia. I thought we could have had a deal months ago, but all I got was nice words. And then missiles falling on Kyiv. This frustration is not mere emotion, it's part of a carefully crafted strategy. Trump recognizes that a peace deal could allow Russia to redirect resources from military spending to economic recovery, potentially restoring Moscow's global market influence. By threatening secondary tariffs, he sends a clear message. Peace does not absolve accountability. This draws on historical lessons, such as the post-World War I reparations on Germany, but modernized with economic tools instead of direct military confrontation. Trump isn't merely reacting to a potential peace deal, he's proactively shaping the post-conflict future. A peace agreement could allow Russia to retain some political or territorial leverage, especially if negotiations involve Ukrainian concessions. To counter this, Trump has devised a two-pronged strategy: military support for Ukraine and economic pressure on Russia. In the press conference with Rutte, Trump announced plans to supply Ukraine with Patriot missile systems through NATO, with European nations like Germany providing their stockpiles and the U.S. replenishing them. We're sending the best stuff, missiles, ammo, everything, Trump declared, emphasizing that Europe would cover 100% of the costs. Simultaneously, the 100% secondary tariff is an economic weapon designed to isolate Russia. Unlike direct sanctions, secondary tariffs target countries trading with Russia, such as China, India, Brazil, and Turkey, making their goods prohibitively expensive in the U.S. market. For example, if India continues buying Russian oil, U.S. companies importing from India would face a 100% tariff, prompting them to source elsewhere, thus hurting India's revenue. Trump explained, if there's no deal in 50 days, it's very simple. Tariffs will be 100%. This is a brilliant strategy, forcing Russia's trade partners to choose between Moscow and the vast U.S. market. Trump's calculations are multifaceted. Pressuring Putin. By targeting Russia's trade partners, Trump weakens Moscow's economic lifeline, compelling Russia to negotiate on U.S. and Ukrainian terms. strengthening U.S. leadership in NATO, demanding Europe fund the weapons showcases, Trump's savvy in maintaining U.S. influence without straining the budget. He stated, "America won't pay a dime, and that's how we like it." Inspiring Ukraine. Combining military aid with economic pressure on Russia, Trump signals to Ukraine that the U.S. is committed to their defense, fostering hope for a future where Kiev can rebuild and thrive. This move reveals Trump not just as a brash leader, but as a cunning strategist, using military and economic tools to shape peace in America's favor. The 100% secondary tariff is part of a broader strategy to isolate Russia from global economic flows, pushing Moscow into deeper reliance on partners like China, India, and Brazil. However, Trump has calculated that these nations, particularly China, with nearly $250 billion in annual trade with Russia, face significant risks if they continue dealings with Moscow. By targeting Russia's trade partners, Trump creates a controlled trade ecosystem where Russia's options are limited and easily monitored. Economic impacts on Russia. Russia's economy heavily relies on commodity exports: oil, LNG, uranium, aluminum, steel, fertilizers, and wheat. The 100% secondary tariff would block market access. Russian goods would become too costly for U.S. companies if intermediary countries face tariffs, reducing Russia's export revenue. Limit foreign currency without access to USD or euros. Russia's ability to fund military rebuilding or economic recovery would be hampered. Increase dependence on China. While Russia may pivot to China, Trump calculates that Beijing will exploit its leverage, forcing Russia into unfavorable terms, such as discounted oil sales. Trump anticipates that Russia has developed sanction-evading mechanisms like dark pool fleets to obscure oil origins. However, he predicts that nations like India and Brazil, reliant on the U.S. market, will hesitate when faced with 100% tariffs, weakening Russia's trade network. This story offers hope. By curbing Russia's economic power, Trump creates a safer world where nations like Ukraine can rebuild without fear of renewed threats. Global market implications. Trump's calculations also protect Western allies. By preventing cheap Russian goods from flooding markets post-peace, he opens opportunities for Norway and Canada, filling the gap left by Russian gas in Europe, boosting energy security. Canada and Ukraine, expanding grain exports, supporting global food security. Australia and the U.S., increasing metal and mineral exports, stabilizing industrial supply chains. This global strategy inspires hope for a more stable economy, where allies thrive and supply chains are diversified. Trump isn't just playing a global game, he's bolstering his domestic standing. With the 2026 midterm elections approaching, the tariff threat and Ukraine support are calculated to position him as a tough yet principled leader. At the press conference, Trump emphasized, "We're doing the right thing for Ukraine, but we're also protecting America's interests." Trump's calculations include appealing to voters. Supporting peace while imposing consequences on Russia satisfies both conservative voters who demand strength and moderates who support Ukraine. Countering criticism, Trump has faced accusations of being too friendly with Putin. The tariff threat and arms support demonstrate his willingness to confront Russia, silencing critics. Strengthening alliances by having NATO fund weapons, Trump reinforces his America First image without burdening U.S. taxpayers, a move popular with conservative voters. This domestic story inspires hope by showing Trump balancing international diplomacy with national interests, encouraging belief in a leader who is both strong and strategic. A key part of Trump's calculation is ensuring Ukraine not only survives, but thrives post-conflict. By pairing secondary tariffs with military support, Trump creates space for Ukraine to become a strategic and economic hub in Eastern Europe. He stated, "We'll make Ukraine stronger than ever, but Russia has to pay a price." Trump's strategy includes reconstruction aid. The U.S. can lead loans and investments to rebuild Ukraine's infrastructure, creating jobs and growth. Market access. By sidelining Russian goods, Trump opens markets for Ukrainian grain and industrial exports. Regional security. Supporting Ukraine, Poland, and Romania as new economic hubs reduces reliance on Russia and China. Building a more sustainable global supply chain. This is a powerful story of hope. From the ashes of war, Ukraine can rise as a symbol of resilience, backed by Trump's strategic vision. Trump's calculations carry risks, and Russia has responded cautiously. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the tariff threat harsh rhetoric, but insisted Russia remains calm and needs time to analyze. Some Russian politicians, like Konstantin Kosachev, dismiss Trump's threat as a waste of time, suggesting it could shift based on battlefield developments or Trump's mood. However, Trump anticipated this response and uses it to escalate pressure. He remarked, "I've talked to Putin many times, but after a few missiles hit Kiev, I realized words don't mean much." By setting a 50-day deadline, Trump creates a clear time frame, forcing Russia to act or face severe economic consequences. While some analysts suggest Trump may not enforce the tariffs due to risks of antagonizing China, his calculation lies in using the threat as a negotiation tool, applying pressure without immediate action. President Trump's threat to impose 100% secondary tariffs on countries trading with Russia is a masterful move, blending economic strength, military support, and domestic political strategy. It's not just a sanction, but a vision to shape a post-conflict world where Russia is restrained, Ukraine empowered, and America's leadership solidified. Trump, with his bold yet calculated approach, transforms an economic threat into a story of hope, a world where justice prevails, and resilient nations like Ukraine can rewrite their future. Based on our team's analysis, the information provided may not be entirely accurate, but aims to help you understand and grasp the situation quickly. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video to support us in creating more inspiring stories in the future.